There are no big major changes to the previous lesson talking about the basic settings, except for one correction, which we'll come back to. Let's start with the major update, which is to relax everything. I have 4 tips that are going to go into detail with what I mean by that. Remember that your posture feels relaxed to you in your native language, but if you cannot do the dead tongue sound from phase 0, then you are not relaxed enough. Tip number 1, don't raise the middle sides steeply. The maps that you'll see emphasize the tongue lowness setting and the center of gravity, based on how they feel in my mouth. But many students overdo this by trying to keep the sides way too high. This can easily bring in way too much tension, as well as just make you sound weird. You simply need the middle sides to be a little higher than the middle body. Remember that the mouth is pretty small, so what we see on the maps actually isn't that steep. In fact, it might help to look at it this way. Keep the middle sides touching the upper teeth lightly, but then try to feel that the middle body is lower than the sides through relaxation, instead of trying to force the middle body down or force the sides up. The next tips will help you do that. Tip number 2, don't tense the middle sides. Just because they're higher than the middle body does not mean you need to hold a whole bunch of extra tension in them. At first, this is normal, but as you practice, try to keep that contact as light as possible. Also, make sure that you aren't pushing into the teeth and that you're not pushing between the teeth. A little tiny bit is okay, maybe about 1/4 or 1/5 of the way through. This relaxation also includes the width of the tongue. So you should let the tongue relax inward, not trying to pull it in or tense it in. And you should feel that the middle body will sort of sink down in between the bottom teeth into the jaw. Tip number 3, remove as much tension as you can from the entire tongue. Thanks to the insight from a subscriber, I recently discovered something interesting. If I tense my whole tongue, especially the middle and all of the sides, it naturally raises the tongue up a little bit and helps me get the Spanish center of gravity much more easily. However, I still feel my native center of gravity in the back middle of the tongue, but now it's like a very tight, small, heavy ball. So just getting the tension of the tongue tenser or more relaxed will not necessarily fix the center of gravity itself, but everyone hits a wall that they can't relax past, so you have to get feedback on this. Recording yourself and comparing it to me might be enough, but for many people, they need the guidance of another person. Tip number 4, get your tongue even lower. Another big issue is that many people don't let the tongue relax down low enough, or it keeps getting stuck in a higher, more tense position as they speak. This is especially true for the back of the tongue. In order to do this properly and make sure that you can get enough space in the mouth, you have to actually address the throat setting and remove any extra tension here at the top and let your voice fall downward. There's a special lesson for that coming up. However, just fixing that won't guarantee that your tongue is low enough. So as you practice and get more feedback, you want to pay attention to both details. Now let's talk about the correction. In the settings lesson, I said that the hinge is on the 5th tooth and that you can feel the 4th tooth. I'm not sure why I said that, because it's actually supposed to be the 4th tooth. If you've been using the 5th tooth and you sound great, then go with it. However, I apologize, this was my mistake, and if you are continuing to struggle, try to make sure you're getting on the 4th tooth instead of the 5th. However, you should never feel the 3rd tooth, the sharp tooth, except a little bit is possible in certain sounds like E or T. You'll learn more about those details later in phase 2A. Next, there are 2 special exercises to help with relaxing, and one will also help you find that center of gravity better. Exercise 1, relax and follow the line. You'll need another person for this exercise. They should either be a native or at least be able to hear like a native. For best results, you'll need someone like me who can actually hear the posture settings. First, find your native language's center of gravity. For many languages, this seems to be the E sound, and this exercise is specifically designed to be used with that sound. Note where the sides of the middle of the tongue are when you're doing this in your native posture. If you don't naturally touch the upper teeth like we described before, then make sure that you at least try to touch the upper teeth. But do not worry about trying to get the sides higher than the middle body. Most likely in your language, the sides and the body are going to be more flat and even, or you might actually have the middle body be a little higher. The most important thing here is that most likely in your language, you hold extra tension through the entire tongue, and that's the thing that we're trying to remove. Start making the E sound in your language like you normally would. As you're doing this, start trying to relax the entire tongue, as well as the top of the throat, and especially try to remove any tension from the middle sides. But keep the sides where they are. Don't let them come off the teeth. If you do it right, the middle body will naturally sink lower than the middle sides as it goes down more into the jaw between the bottom teeth. Now this might be enough to produce the center of gravity in American English. First, the person who's listening to you should tell you if you sound more open and relaxed, regardless of what sound you're actually making. But if you're not sounding more open and relaxed, stay with this step until you can remove as much tension as possible. If you do sound more open and relaxed, but you're still not making the sound, go to the next step. From there, look at this map. The E is somewhere around here. The other person will point to that spot, either with a finger or a mouse if using the computer. Keep things relaxed, but try to move the sound that you're making into that sound. Make sure that you let the front of the tongue fall and relax down as you do that. That's a common mistake. Now, the person will listen to you as you try to shift into that sound, and they will either point using their finger or the mouse to move along the map as you get closer and closer. This gives you direct visual feedback based on what you're doing, using the person's ears to guide you. For example, Now one common problem is passing right over that and ending up somewhere in ah or like ah if your throat is tight. Also make sure to avoid your native language's ah sound, which most likely means that you're either letting the middle of the tongue, especially in the front middle, come down too low, or you're maybe opening the jaw too low as you shift, and or you're letting the back of the tongue either stay too high or come up as you try to do that. Again, that can also be tied with the top of the throat tensing. And don't forget to relax those middle sides while still keeping light contact with the upper teeth. The lesson on voice placement will help you relax and open up that top of the throat, so check that out if you get stuck. Exercise 2. I made a special paragraph that contains every sound except for R and L. The R and the L are second level sounds that add a little bit more tension and slightly modify some of the posture settings, so we don't want to worry about that right now. There is a normal speed but clear recording, as well as a slower speed recording. Your main focus right now is not on forming the sounds completely correctly. It's not on stress or linking or anything else. Right now, your only goal is trying to get that more relaxed, open quality while holding the posture pieces in place. And then after that, you can focus on getting the sounds better and clearer when you learn more about that later in the course. You can and should use this paragraph through the rest of the course, especially when we get into phase 2B. And when you use this paragraph, make sure to shadow the audio recordings, and I recommend that you start with the slower version first. And know that you will not get this perfect. Without knowing the details of the sounds, you will have problems. So don't try to get everything 100%. Just focus on getting and keeping that relaxed, open quality while being mindful of those posture pieces, which you will then be able to bring into the sounds when we get there.